You can't do them because of your femur length, all right? So if this is particularly long, we will probably struggle, which I sometimes do. If I'm a little bit fitter, a little bit lighter, we can do, but never mind about that. Welcome back to the channel. What is happening, guys? I hope you're having a great day. We have tuned in for some unilateral based exercise of the lower variety. I know, don't get too excited, but we're going to tell you how you can get ridiculously strong on one leg and why you'd rather do that on one leg than two. Yep, my name is Coach John Hall. I train and educate online other coaches. I have a community that you can join, obviously right here. All the details are down below. It is only £75 a month and you get continuing programming, education, weekly calls, lives with me. It's insane. And hot seats from people who are a lot smarter than me. So that's pretty cool. If you've got any comments about that or any of the video, do it down below. But without further ado, let's go through unilateral based training. We have 9 exercises that we have here. We're going to keep this nice and rigid on what's happening with each leg and why you might want to put these into your plans for either your clients or for yourself. So number 1, here we go. We have boom, boom, beautiful. It is a shallow step up with barbell in the back squatting position, right? Legit. One of these is we're going to hold it in this A position. So we've got a shallow step up, barbell loaded into A position, right? We're going to pause that there. The idea about this is I give it majority for people who are lacking a bit of stability or we need to add pelvic control. It's mainly to do with runners, okay? This isn't about loading up a step up and getting loads of kind of glute activation and quad activation and stuff like that. We're looking at perhaps the amount of stride that we obtain when we're running and making sure you're really stable on here, okay? So I've probably got 90, okay, I've got my body weight, okay? So body weight of me going through that step up and also body weight on my back, okay? So double body weight contact, enabling my foot stuff to get basically stable, okay? So I'm looking for that kind of locked in position. You can see I'm obtaining as much hip flexion as I can without my pelvis tucking under and giving me that butt wink effect, okay? Because obviously the butt wink happens when we run out of hip flexion. We should know that. And I'm driving, pushing hard down. I'm almost stamping onto that Reebok step, enabling myself to put lots of like transfer of force into, and then I'm locking out, making sure my quad on my left leg, everything is nice and locked in, gripping it and replacing that with my A position, okay? All the way through this movement, I'm making sure my pelvis is super stable. And because I've got that load on my back, I've got to obtain all my T-spine, my obliques, everything that's attached to my core is having to stay super structured, okay? So it's probably going to be affecting a lot of you who run and maybe don't pick up your heels or pick up your legs or pick up your knees kind of thing, that shuffling effect. Also adding a little bit more of a stable platform from something called vertical and horizontal oscillation. So you're keeping your core nice and rigid and strong as we go through nice powerful positions. So if you sprint, if you do any running, if you do anything like that, it's probably the way to go. This is for people that may have had hamstring cramp in the past, right? So we've got a single leg bridge, but it's going to be a hamstring bridge position, okay? So you can see basically if we think hamstring bridge is when we're going higher with my leg than where my glute is and where my shoulders are. So we have that position and I'm massively pushing really hard through my heel, okay? So transverse force is pushing down and then I'm gripping and pulling back, okay? I'm going to pull everything back from a long position to short position. If I was doing that, you'll have noticed we're having to pull back in, which is going to be everything like my biceps involved. So we know that my hamstring is gripping and ripping that floor back towards me, okay? So everything through here is trying to get shortened. We are focusing on the hamstring that is contracting obviously at the knee, a little bit different from that RDL position, right? So if we had an RDL position, you're training your hamstring nearer the hip. This one, you're training it nearer the knee. So when we extend anything through there, we may get that little hamstring cramp. We're trying to keep everything at the hip pretty straight here and thinking the knee's the only thing that's working. Cool. So this is targeting any runners, footballers, anybody that's got maybe some hamstring cramp or hamstring weakness that they've got previously and maybe haven't got the strength to start doing Nordics yet. So we're able to go through hamstring flexion to get a little bit stronger through here, okay? I think this is an entry point. If you want to just to hold it on that ball in a long position, that'd be a great place to start. And then we start to move it concentrically and eccentrically, okay? I'm trying to be nice and controlled on the way down and grapple. Really think about tense on the way back, okay? I don't mind my hands being there as well. I think people get too say, oh, you're using and pushing down to the floor. Bore off. Boom, lock in. Make sure we're nice and tense throughout the rest of our body. Right, number 3, we have an assisted pistol squat. Pistol squats are massive in kind of functional fitness world of being able to try and do them, okay? It really is an amazing movement to be able to do. I would concur and implore you to go look at some research by Alex Natara. I did a whole talk on it in my coaches group explaining what is the transfer of force and how much you should be able to lift on your pistol squats if you're able to do a full pistol squat, what you should in theory be able to do on a back squat. Much similar, I think we'll see it later, a skater squat, what you should be able to lift in a trap bar deadlift, and how these two equate to each other based off the amount of muscle mass and force that you're generating through a unilateral based exercise. This is a good chance to pause and say, why are we do unilateral based lowers, okay? If this is having, say, you're meant to be able to do 1.6 of your body weight for a back squat if you're able to do a pistol squat. I'm not too sure on the numbers, it's about right. If we're able to do that, you got to think, I don't have as much absolute force going through my body, and we're able to split that up over 2 limbs. That means it's going to take a little bit longer, but it's not as much absolute force. So the ability of doing unilateral based training is a lot bigger because we've not got as much absolute load going for our central nervous system to recover from. So we're able to hit the right intensity, but neurally we're not feeling it as much, okay? So this is why we start to maybe bias a unilateral based exercise for a lot of athletes, because we have a bit of compensatory patterns, and if we're having to go again that week and really push hard over certain things, perhaps our heavy session might be 1 bilateral and then we go to unilateral based training, because we've got compensatory patterns that are happening to keep you stable, and then we also have a bunch of stuff that's neurally going on, so we don't have to push as hard and recover as hard. Pretty cool. Right, pistol squats. These can be determined by you can't do them because of your femur length, alright? So if this is particularly long, we will probably struggle, which I sometimes do. If I'm a little bit fitter and a little bit lighter, we can do, but never mind about that. We're able to get into this position. I'm using this. I've got to transfer all my force forwards, right? So as I shift through this way, I'm basically being able to lift myself up a little bit more because I'm shifting my counterbalance out this way, okay? If I had like weights in my hands, that's going to be something we could do as well, or butt to box if we want to regress this, but I've just got a little bit of a touch to enable myself to get back up, right? Really cool way of doing these instead of going from the box and not being able to hit that depth all the way for it. So nice way of putting the variation in. So single leg squat to box, and then use an assist like a TRX or just a bar or something like that on the side. Be really, really nice thing to do. Right, next one. Ooh, pretty nice. Beautiful. Let's run that one more time. Say drop barbell back split squat. Beautiful. Right. You'll notice, not the greatest view, Tom. I'm sorry. You'll notice I am stamping into my eccentric portion of my lift, the lowering down phase, right? So I've got that load on my back, so let's say 70 kilos, and I'm lifting and then stamping down on one side and going rapidly into an eccentric. So I'm going to lift, boom, and I'm thinking, how fast can I drop and catch myself from going and not hitting the floor, essentially. All right, let's reverse this all the way to the left. So I'll be in a normal split squat position. I'm thinking about absorbing that load and catching before I go all the way down, which if you think if I'm stretching so like an elastic band and getting into that stretch as much, it's having less chance to gradually contract and get nice and softly into a stretch. If I'm just yanking it and then decelerating hugely, that's going to add a lot of stretch and a lot of muscle damage onto this, okay? So we're going to have to be thinking about, can I catch that weight? Am I getting a load of eccentric force, kind of landing mechanic stuff going on, enabling you to be able to slow your body down and get out of a position a little bit easier, a little bit quicker, which is going to be pretty cool for any kind of sports, or perhaps you've got some prehab or existing injuries that you weren't really able to decelerate very well. This could be an amazing thing to break through those plateaus, okay? So we know we can overload eccentric training pretty well, and if we're able to hit that landing mechanic, it'll be nice. And you look right, the next one, if we wanted to load this a little bit differently, boom, same kind of position, okay? We're going from a drop split squat with the bull into a bull chop position, okay? It's enabling us to get down into something called internal rotation. That is just essentially squeezing up that glute really hard, and we're dropping into position. Okay, let's run through a bunch of these. So boom, into that split position. I'm massively rapidly going down. Okay, I'm trying to catch myself before I fall down. I'm trying to break through down to the floor and contract hard and eccentrically go hard, really hard. All right, just say hard. So we're going into the bottom of that position. We're able to stretch. We're putting massive contraction into our glute, into our leg, and when we're catching and recovering all the way. Right? So the reason we've got this ball here is one, to aid a little bit more acceleration, and we're going from top massive extension into something called flexion. Right? So we're cross body, and we're able to basically, that is going to be the metronome of me getting back into that position as I chop down. Really cool little bit, really fun for sports and learning about moving quickly. Okay, if I'm able to do that and then just throw it down behind me would be another thing that we could do to express that force, and not having to have the force of decelerating. We could just let it go and try and go as hard as possible. The skater squats, like I promised, don't worry, this is not the entry point of this. I think I show it. There we go, entry point, skater squat. Essentially these, we look here, looks like a trap bar deadlift, right? This is the same position as our trap bar deadlift, but on a single leg, okay? Notice on my pistol squat, this loaded leg, okay, true unilateral motion, because we're not really using this to do anything, goes behind me. Therefore, there's more hip involved. Whereas if when it was in front of me, there was a lot more knee bend going on, right? So you could see my hamstring was getting really close to my calf. Whereas at the bottom here, there's a big old gap here. Where in the pistol squat, there wasn't. That knee was like all locked in, right? So we've got these, basically think of them as a single leg trap bar deadlift. Okay, so like I said, Alex has a really cool little bit on these in terms of loading. You can go look that up, or you can come show it. We can load these in several different ways. We could probably, the best way to load it, hands down, would literally just be a weighted vest. Then we start looking at counterbalances. Then we start looking at barbells like this. I just wanted to see whether I could do it. Life's about fun, innit? So we have that front squatty position, which isn't going to really help with us spreading ourselves out and making sure that I'm loading my hip up that much, okay? So it's not that too fantastic, okay? There's a position to go through. I would rather we have probably weights, as you can see. When I've just got my body weight, I'm spreading out as far as I can, okay? I'm shifting that barbell and any weights as far as we can go that way, which ideally we would be able to do. Okay, so maybe dumbbells loaded would be a better way to start. And really simply hold on to something, put a higher kind of wedge or pad so you can touch your knee to the floor. That is where you will start. Cool. So we're thinking about compensatory patterns on that loaded hip. We're enabling that to get nice and strong, and we're building these up to go with our deadlift positions. Okay, so these would be fantastic for any runners, any athletes at all. I think these cross all boundaries and can be that A1 lift in one of your workouts. Honestly, let's go. All right. Ooh, beautiful. This is a hamstring catch. So we saw that ball variation earlier, okay? But this is a deceleration of that, essentially. We've got air, we're going from super contracted, okay? The bit of our hamstring is nice and tight. It is basically not going to stretch that much over that knee, okay? It's nice and contracted, and then we're making it jump and take our load and stretching it and grabbing it and catching it, okay? So we're thinking about that yank effect of that elastic band again, and it's able to absorb a bunch of force. So these guys, again, sprinters, footballers, anybody who changes direction, anybody who starts to run, anything like that, who wants a little bit of contraction in your hamstring, these are for you. You probably don't sit that high in terms of like loading, so it could be part of your movement prep, or it could be part of your like B's or C's or 2 exercises if you're going through anything in your workouts. Right, next one. We keep rolling, we keep explaining. This is the real way to do a single leg RDL with a dumbbell and elevated, because I'm important, but I like this A position that we return to, but also a little bit of stability so I can really focus on getting nice and deep into my hip, okay? We're getting nice and long and strong, and then we're getting nice and tall as we contract that hip hard, right? Excuse the people. We've got stretch massively down, making sure we get lots of loading on our hip, on their glute. I ask for people to start to bend their knee because we've got to have that soft knee during RDL, but I prefer these to feel a little bit more trap barry, so you get your quad activation happening as well as, okay? We're still maximally, as you can see, maximally going through my hip there. Okay, so there's as much hip bend as I can create, but I want my quad, so that knee's gonna bend a little bit as well to get that depth and that dumbbell almost to the floor, hence why I've raised myself up a little bit. And then I'm punching through to that A position because I think that's a nice position to get into and feel stable, where my hip on the loaded side has to be an extension, which is what we're trying to achieve, and we're trying to load really hard, right? So these will sit on every person's arsenal of their workouts. We're going to probably program these for everybody. They're going to sit somewhere probably in our B or our C portion of our exercises, but they can be a main bit of that, and we can spend some good quality time loading these guys up, because we've got that assist. As soon as you take that assist away, you've got that kind of balancy, compensatory form. We tend to use compensatory pattern, not balancing muscles or stabilizer muscles. We're not using those, okay? Everything is stabilizing all the time when you're lifting pretty heavy. So we're thinking your hip has to negate some compensatory patterns because it's compensating by drifting around instead of it's stabilizing. It is, but it's accessing compensations, right? We're able to go through that. One of my favorites. It's got to be. Okay, and this I believe is the last one. A true point. And I think I did this, if you go check back maybe a year ago, there's a 100 kilo challenge. As you can see, I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, a true single leg RDL. So if you want to do this, please go have some fun. Start off with a little bit less than 100 kilos. This is about really contracting super hard through one side and enabling yourself to push super hard through the floor. Because you can see there's no assist happening from my upper body. I've got both on the barbell, and there's a long thing. It's not over one dumbbell or a couple of kettlebells. We've got a really long bar, so you're having to compensate quite a lot because we're spread over a long amount of distance, okay? Which is gonna make this a little bit more wobbly than it normally would, okay? So if we look at the start, boom, this is kind of like the end goal of what you're trying to achieve. You might not even program these in. They might be fun to do for 4 weeks, and then you're like, all right, I'm actually getting a little bit taxed. My CNS isn't recovering as much. It's getting quite sore. I don't have to do these. Right? Hopefully I explained all 9 of those unilateral lower base movements, looking from mainly hip development and how you can compensate and what you're going to use them for. Most of them are going to sit with runners, higher S&C kind of stuff. Every kind of Gen Pop client is going to be able to do a regression of these. So please think with your hat. You don't have to back squat. You don't have to just normal deadlift for 3 times 10 every single time. You can do this kind of fun stuff and it'll be absolutely awesome. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for watching. Go like, go subscribe, do all that kind of fun business. Any questions about any of this stuff, go down below. If you want to join the group, down below as well. My coaching is always open for one-to-one. You can join the group without even speaking to me. You can get in there today. If you want to do one-to-one coaching, book in, complete my form. You're all good. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll catch you in the next video.